everyone, today I'll be reviewing this brand new Spanish movie just dropped on Netflix. It's called God's Crooked Line, and this movie, it is a kind of like a psychological thriller, and in this movie you see Alice, who is a private investigator, and she checks into this psychiatric hospital where at first she goes there to investigate this murder happened there, and as she goes on there, like her life goes on in that hospital, she start thinking about her losing her own insanity, like in this movie. That is what this movie is about, I must say. And because this movie takes place in this psychiatric hospital, there is of course many other patients are there, mental patients are there. We see all these mental patients, like they are a big part of this movie, and we learn more about them, what is the reason for them to be there, and some of these mental patients are there. They are interesting character. Overall, what was this movie is about and how this movie ends, I thought this movie, it is very engaging movie, like because it's a psychological thriller, and the center character, she doesn't know why, like I guess as the time passes, once she goes there and she doesn't know, like she start losing the memory why she's there, and what is happening around her. Yeah, this movie gets really very interesting. Same time, it is very intriguing for audience. You're like, whoa, what is happening? So this movie did reminded me of one of my favorite movie directed by Martin Scorsese, Shutter Island. I love that movie, Shutter Island. That movie is truly amazing. And this movie does have a lot of scene. I felt like it borrowed from that movie, and although it doesn't end like that, it does end with the open note. You have to figure it out. Although at this point, I think it's pretty obvious what it meant. But this movie is still, it is very engaging. Although you felt like you have seen this kind of movie before. But all this back and forth between all this character Alice and her, all this psychiatric doctor there, psychiatric doctor team there. As this movie goes on, this movie is definitely very engaging and intriguing about the characters we are watching here, I must say. I had actually really good time watching this movie all the way until the end. I was like, why it's like, is she crazy? I will be going into spoilers. If you have not seen this movie, it is quite like Shutter Island. Even there's one scene, like she put the car on fire, just like in that movie. What this movie it made different is the center actress. She's really good in this movie. Her acting is so good. So is all the, I wouldn't say all the doctors are good actor here, but the center, the head doctor, I thought he was really good. All the patient was really, like, they are interesting. And of course, it is a mental patient movie. Of course, you see some, crazy stuff happening around. So I guess where this movie the spoiler warning if not seen, I guess in this movie, some of the scenes do become very repetitive halfway through. You see like all the things we learn about her, she goes back and try to figure it out. And I guess halfway through, we are trying, as an audience, you're trying to figure out this, is she crazy or she's a private investigator? Or is her husband is made her go there, all these things we start asking ourselves, oh, what is happening? Is it true or false at this movie? It becomes really very exhausting, like, because is she crazy or not? Even the last 10 minutes, we think she is not crazy, and yet the movie ends with she is crazy. So which scene is real, which scene isn't real? So I will say about this movie, probably like, she is insane, like she was there, but I don't get the husband's, like, I guess the husband, maybe he sent her there because there was evidence, or it didn't. The way it ended, I guess I was also confused, as I was saying, as the audience, toward the end, you feel really exhausted. You're like, is she crazy or not? But still, although you feel exhausted watching this movie, but still this movie, it is very interesting movie. For people who like this kind of movie, I will say. It is still interesting, intriguing for people who enjoyed Shutter Island, I will say. I loved Shutter Island. Of course, I was really enjoying this movie. Although it didn't end like Shutter Island, it ended with such an open note. I was like, whoa. That is, I will say about this movie, the biggest problem, it does drag a lot. Oh, this movie has a lot of repetitive scenes. The runtime is too long, but still I found this movie to be interesting. And if you like this kind of movie, it is very well acted and it's definitely worth checking. Acting is really very good. This movie, it is, especially the production design, it took place in 1970. This movie was really interesting watch for me, although I didn't like the way it ended, but I was happy because end of it she was crazy after all. And yeah, it was interesting. Acting was really good. The story might not be original, but still worth checking, I thought. And that's my thought on this movie. But still, it's for people who like Shutter Island type movie. That is what I'm gonna say. And that's my thought on this movie. Let me know in the comment, what do you think about this movie? And if you enjoyed about this review, don't forget my other reviews on other Netflix movie. If you enjoy this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take care.